This operation runs under U.S. jurisdiction in a recovery area that never stabilizes. It is night, hot, and dirty, with wind pushing across open ground and rotor wash flattening scrub and dust. Visibility drops under 100 yards. Engines idle low. Radios work, but barely. Signal integrity degrades across the net. Captain Lauren Hale, U.S. Air Force, is the acting ground mission lead. She answers to an Air Force command cell hundreds of miles away. And liability sits with her because she controls movement on the ground. She can position teams and manage time on station. Any withdrawal requires higher approval. Fuel clock shows 23 minutes remaining. The aircraft goes down short of a viable landing zone. A recovery beacon blinks against broken metal. A cracked tablet shows delayed telemetry. A grease pencil mark holds on a plexiglass board. Distance to the wreck reads 180 yards. The time is 0204 hours. Rotor noise fades to the south. Wind drives dust across the ground. A radio pops once and goes quiet. A gloved hand steadies the handset. A cracked headset mic cuts in and out. Fuel continues bleeding down by the minute. Command picture lags behind ground truth. Failure means assets exposed and options collapsing. Recovery window closing. This is where routine ends. The clock keeps running, and the next call decides everything right now. Engines idle low at 0205 hours. Dust still moving across the strip. Mission logs scroll under dim light. Red grease pencil holds the plan in place. Signal routing stabilizes on primary channel, documenting what happened. Radios carry clipped traffic over a low electronic hum. Fuel time keeps bleeding. Before we go further, subscribe so these briefings stay available, and say where you are listening from right now. This recovery mission operates under U.S. jurisdiction at a forward strip that never reaches full control. It is night, and the environment works against clarity. Wind moves across open ground, carrying dust that interferes with sight and sound. Visibility fluctuates and periodically drops under 100 yards. Engines idle low in staggered positions. Generator exhaust mixes with dust and heat. Headlamps cut narrow cones across boots, fuel gauges, and gear laid out on hard ground. Captain Lauren Hale, U.S. Air Force, is the acting ground mission lead. She controls movement, spacing, and timing on the strip. She answers to an Air Force command cell monitoring remotely, hundreds of miles away, with authority over withdrawal, air tasking changes, and mission termination. Decisions move down through her. Reports move up through her. She does not posture, and neither does command. Authority stays professional and procedural. Fuel time remaining is 32 minutes. The aircraft goes down earlier in the night. The landing zone never stabilizes enough to support standard recovery. Surface conditions shift. Wind direction changes without warning. Lighting remains degraded. What exists now is not a planned landing zone, but an improvised recovery zone. Improvised recovery zone. A cracked tablet shows delayed telemetry from the downed aircraft. The data lags ground reality by minutes. A grease pencil route holds on a plexiglass board, already smudged and redrawn. A headset mic is taped at the seam to keep it functional. Fuel caps are checked again. Every additional minute burns fuel, time, and credibility. Generator load holds steady. Captain Hale can reposition ground elements, adjust perimeter spacing, and manage time on station. She cannot authorize additional aircraft without approval. She cannot extend the recovery window unilaterally. Those decisions remain above her. Inside the command cell, watching the same feeds with less context and more delay, radio traffic overlaps across multiple nets. Some transmissions are clipped, others repeat. Wind pushes against loose equipment. Engines cycle up and then settle back to idle. The soundscape is constant and unfinished. Signal quality drops below usable threshold on secondary net. Standard recovery procedures assume a stable landing zone, predictable lighting, and clear comms. None of those assumptions hold. Recovery assets are limited. Aircrew availability is tight. Fuel margins are narrow. The system is already strained before the first recovery move begins. Distance from the forward strip to the wreck reads 210 yards. The time is 0212 hours. Fuel time remaining is 28 minutes. Telemetry refresh delays increase. Documentation updates in real time. Mission logs scroll with timestamps. Notes are short and factual. No one writes ahead of the moment. Captain Hale confirms each entry before it moves upward. Accountability follows the record. The command cell sees the same telemetry, but not the dust, not the wind, not the way sound carries across the strip. Their assessment remains conservative, built on delayed data and risk models designed for cleaner conditions. Perimeter spacing compresses by 20 yards. Headlamps sweep across fuel gauges again. Boots shift on packed dirt. A gloved hand steadies a radio. The recovery beacon blinks against broken metal in the distance. The beacon is steady. Everything else is not. Fuel time remaining drops to 24 minutes. Captain Hale reports conditions without interpretation. She does not argue. She documents. The command cell acknowledges and continues to monitor. Both sides remain within procedure. The gap between assessment and reality begins to widen. Primary comms hold. Secondary comms remain degraded. Every system here relies on time behaving predictably. Time does not cooperate. Fuel burns whether decisions are made or not. Visibility drops and returns without warning. Telemetry lags just enough to matter. At 0215 hours, the command cell flags the recovery conditions as marginal but acceptable on the ground. Captain Hale sees the margin thinning faster than the data shows. This is the first fracture, small and procedural, where remote assessment and ground reality no longer align, and it will not hold for long. The pressure builds without noise or spectacle. It builds through time, fuel, and the slow tightening of options. The environment stays hostile to clarity. Night heat lingers. Wind moves across open ground and carries dust back through the strip. Visibility drops under 100 yards and then returns without warning. Engines cycle and settle at idle. Rotor wash briefly overpowers speech and then fades. Radios carry clipped traffic, layered and incomplete. Fuel time remaining is 21 minutes. Captain Lauren Hale, U.S. Air Force, remains the acting ground mission lead. She controls spacing, movement, and posture on the strip. She answers to an Air Force command cell, monitoring remotely, where broader authority resides. Orders move down through her. Reports move up through her. She acknowledges each transmission and documents each change. Command channel latency increases. The tablet in her hand shows intermittent locator movement near the wreck. The signal is not steady, but it is present. A clock on the mission board marks elapsed time on station. Fuel caps are reseated. A headset mic, taped at the seam, is adjusted again. The grease pencil board is updated and wiped clean, then updated again. Visibility falls below 100 yards. Standard procedure favors caution when conditions degrade. The command cell tracks the same telemetry and fuel data, but not the dust, not the wind, not the way sound collapses distance. Their assessment remains conservative. The margin looks thin but acceptable from where they sit. Fuel time remaining drops to 18 minutes. The abort order arrives clean and clear, delivered without emotion or emphasis. Abort recovery. Conditions are non-viable. Captain Hale acknowledges the order immediately. Her response is short and professional. She does not argue. She does not delay. She logs the order and passes it to her ground elements. Abort order issued. Perimeter teams shift posture to prepare for withdrawal. Distances compress. Equipment is staged for movement. Engines cycle again. The wind presses harder against loose gear. Radios pick up speed. Responses clipped and exact. Perimeter coverage thins by one sector. The locator signal flickers on the tablet. It moves. then pauses, then moves again. Telemetry quality degrades but does not disappear. The clock continues forward. Fuel continues to burn. Fuel time remaining is 15 minutes. Captain Hale confirms the abort sequence steps. She can manage the ground movement. She cannot countermand the order. Any change requires approval from above. She documents the signal movement without interpretation and forwards the update. Command acknowledges signal receipt. The medevac window narrows as fuel margins tighten. Engines idle lower to conserve burn. Alarms chirp once and stop. Wind pushes dust back across the strip. Headlamps sweep across boots and gear. Signal strength drops below half. Ground reality worsens incrementally, not dramatically. The abort order remains procedurally sound. The conditions continue to degrade. The two trends move toward each other. Fuel time remaining drops to 12 minutes. The locator signal persists. It shifts position by a few yards. The tablet refresh lags. But the movement is logged. Captain Hale notes it and forwards the update again. She does not request a change. She documents telemetry, refresh, delay, increases. The command cell reviews the update. Their assessment remains unchanged. Abort remains in effect. Risk models do not account for movement at this resolution. The order stands. Abort, order confirmed. Ground teams prepare to disengage. Perimeter spacing tightens further. Distance to the wreck remains 160 yards. Visibility dips again. Radios carry overlapping traffic and then settle. Perimeter posture transitions to withdrawal. Fuel time remaining is 9 minutes. Captain Hale stands between two clocks, the fuel clock and the movement clock on the tablet. Both are running. Neither waits for resolution. She continues to operate inside the order while tracking the facts that no longer align cleanly with it. Survivor telemetry degrades, but remains active. The abort sequence reaches its last stable configuration. Engines are ready to turn. Ground elements are positioned to move. The locator signal is still present, still shifting. Fuel margins approach the minimum required to exit safely. Fuel time remaining drops to 7 minutes. Command channel remains open and clear. The order stands. Documentation continues. Liability consolidates on the ground lead as the moment approaches where procedure and conditions no longer intersect. At 0229 hours, the mission holds in a narrow balance. Continuing the abort remains procedurally correct. Staying another minute risks becoming unsustainable. The margin closes, and the next decision cannot wait any longer. The shift begins without argument. It begins with verification. Night conditions persist at the strip. Wind presses dust across open ground and interferes with hearing. Visibility fluctuates and drops under 100 yards. Engines idle and cycle. Rotor wash briefly overwhelms speech and then recedes. Radios carry controlled traffic with short acknowledgments. Fuel time remaining is 6 minutes. Captain Lauren Hale, U.S. Air Force, remains the acting ground mission lead. She does not contest the abort order. She documents what the ground shows and transmits it upward through proper channels. Authority remains intact. Process remains intact. Locator signal locks and holds. The tablet refreshes after an antenna adjustment. Telemetry cleans up. The locator is no longer intermittent. It holds position near the wreck and shows movement within a confined radius. The timestamp aligns. The distance reads 140 yards. The time is 0231 hours. Perimeter contact risk reduces by 1 sector. Ground teams advance within the limits of the order to verify. Movement is deliberate. Gear stays tight to the body. Headlamps remain angled low. A helmet camera captures the approach. Hands signal quietly. Commands are delivered close to the mic. Fuel time remaining stabilizes at 5 minutes for ground movement only. Wind presses dust aside long enough to see broken metal. The recovery beacon reflects off the fuselage. A figure moves. Another responds. Breathing is audible through masks. An injured aircrew member is stabilized where found. Hands apply pressure and secure straps. A casualty drag is improvised with available webbing. Telemetry confirms 2 active signals. Captain Hale documents the verification. She attaches helmet camera footage, timestamps, and telemetry snapshots. She transmits without commentary. The command cell acknowledges receipt. Command acknowledges receipt of evidence. Ground truth confirmed. A single alert chirp confirms data receipt. Engines idle steady. Rotor wash fades as aircraft reposition to hold. Radios remain controlled. The perimeter holds. Fuel time remaining is 4 minutes. The command cell reviews the evidence. The locator lock is sustained. Movement is verified. Care is underway. The risk model updates. Authority remains with the command cell to approve continued action. Responsibility becomes explicit. Responsibility logged to senior authority by rank. Captain Hale requests permission with documentation attached. She does not argue. She cites the evidence and the remaining fuel window. The request is brief and factual. Medevac path clears for limited window. The command cell responds. Approval is granted for a defined continuation window, bounded by fuel and perimeter limits. The order is recorded. Acceptance of risk is logged to a named authority by rank and time. Fuel margin stabilizes for 3 minutes. Ground teams adjust posture to stabilization. The casualty drag continues under cover of terrain. Hands maintain pressure. Breathing remains controlled. The headset mic stays pressed tight at the seam. A grease pencil note is updated and time stamped. Perimeter control holds steady. Captain Hale confirms the order, repeats the limits, and documents acceptance. She does not expand scope. She does not celebrate. She executes. Command acceptance recorded at 0234 hours. Engines remain at idle. Radios carry short acknowledgments. Wind continues to press dust across open ground. Visibility remains under 100 yards, but the immediate threat is contained within the approved window. Fuel time remaining is 3 minutes. The reversal completes not with force, but with proof. The record now carries the decision, the limits, and the ownership. The mission proceeds inside those bounds, documented and accountable, with authority aligned to ground truth and responsibility clearly assigned. The immediate threat is contained, and the environment changes with it. Early light rises over the strip, engines idle lower and steadier. Wind eases but does not disappear. Gear is laid out for inspection on hard ground. Movements slow and become deliberate. Fuel state stabilizes but remains tracked. The time is 0306 hours. Recovery status confirmed. Captain Lauren Hale, U.S. Air Force, remains the ground mission lead through the transition. She stays inside the mission's intent and accepts the record that follows. There is no victory posture. There is only continuity. What mattered under pressure now matters on paper. Orders exist to reduce risk. They are written to protect people and systems when information is incomplete. They are not permission to ignore reality when verified facts change the situation. In this case, the intent of the order and the responsibility to lives transmitting intersect, and the resolution is not argument. It is documentation. Administrative review initiated. Written sitrep pages are printed and aligned. Redactions are applied where required. After-action notes are stacked in sequence. A clipboard holds timestamps that match the telemetry and the voice traffic. A headset is set down carefully. A grease pencil mark is erased and rewritten to reflect what actually occurred, not what was expected. Sound settles into room tone. Paper moves. Radios stay quiet unless addressed directly. Accountability remains. Senior officers review the record without theatrics. Decisions are traced to times, ranks, and approvals. Responsibility moves upward through the chain of command as designed. No one avoids ownership. No one seeks credit. Documentation finalized for submission. Captain Hale signs the last entry and forwards the package. The mission extends beyond the moment of danger into reports, reviews, and continuity. What happened is preserved accurately, so the next decision, by the next team, rests on truth rather than assumption. The scene holds in low light. Equipment stays staged, not packed away. Engines idle in the background. A clock continues to advance at 0314 hours. Nothing moves fast now, but nothing is finished. Orders remain in effect. Captain Lauren Hale operates under U.S. Air Force authority. The order originates above her. The ground picture sits beside a remote command feed that never fully matches it. Documentation waits to be written. Mission log entry remains open. Here is the choice, and it is not theoretical. Option 1. Follow the abort order exactly. Preserve procedural compliance, and accept the outcome that follows if conditions change too late. Option 2. Act on verified proof that the situation has changed. Document the decision, and accept personal responsibility for that deviation if the record is challenged. A single metronome tick breaks the silence. Order or outcome. Both choices carry cost. Both leave a paper trail. Neither protects you completely. State your answer in the comments. Do you follow the order as written, or do you act on proof and own the result? Daylight comes up slow over the strip. The wind eases but does not disappear. LZ markers flutter lightly. Equipment is stowed with method. Checklists are signed. Fuel state is safe and logged at 0540 hours. Engines wind down, then stop, and the space settles. The mission closes the way these missions always do. On paper, Captain Lauren Hale remains inside the U.S. Air Force chain of command. Reports move upward. Decisions are time-stamped. A closed logbook is stamped and filed. A clipboard is set down square. Mission folder archived to records. Rotor wash fades into silence. Only soft wind and paper moving remain. What happened here is not carried by memory or adrenaline. It is carried by documentation that outlasts both. Next mission queued. If you want these accounts to keep getting recorded, like this video and subscribe to the channel. The next mission is already waiting, and it will be documented the same way.